Ashake was a beautiful young lady with a kind heart who was loved by all in the village. Well, except for her stepmother, Mama Tiwa. After her parents died, she was no longer spoken to as a human being. She was only commanded like a slave, no longer cared for, but only used. She ate whatever scraps were left. She was given old, tattered clothes, while her stepsisters, Nina and Ifoma, wore the finest fabrics. And when suitors came, wealthy, well-spoken men who saw Ashake's beauty and grace and were ready to take her as their wife, her stepmother, Mama Tiwa, was quick to whisper poison into their ears. "She's not the girl you think she is, oh," she would say. "She is a stubborn girl. She's cursed. She's a disgrace. She doesn't even know how to prepare common breakfast." Her stepmother made sure that every good thing that came into Ashake's life would disappear even before Ashake could know they existed. And so, one by one, all her suitors left. Yet, Ashake did not break. She worked, she endured, and she dreamed. And then, one day, fate stepped in. It was an ordinary afternoon at the market, the sun blazing high, the scent of spices thick in the air. Ashake had gone to buy ingredients for dinner, balancing a heavy basket on her hip, when she saw him. A man in ragged clothes, stumbling forward as though the weight of the world pressed down on him. He tripped, falling hard onto the floor. The crowd barely glanced his way. Just another beggar, another forgotten soul. But Ashake did not look away. She rushed to him, kneeling beside him, dusting off his tattered clothes with gentle hands. "Are you hurt?" she asked, her voice filled with concern. The man stared at her, startled. His face was streaked with dirt, his eyes tired yet searching. I'm fine," he said, though he clearly wasn't. Ashake offered him water. "You should rest," she said. "The market is too harsh a place for the weary." The man gave her a weak chuckle. And yet, here I am. There was something about the man, a quiet strength beneath the ragged exterior, a presence that did not quite match his worn appearance. He stood, wobbling slightly, and before Ashake could protest, he reached for her basket. "Let me carry this for you. You are the first person to ever help me out." Ashake hesitated at first. No one had ever offered to help her before, not like this. She nodded slowly. Together, they walked back home, and that was how it all began. As they approached the compound, Mama Tiwa sat on the porch, her arms folded tightly across her chest. She watched as Ashake and the strange beggar approached the compound, her eyes glinting with something dark, something that felt like victory. She had spent years poisoning Ashake's future, making sure no decent man would consider her for marriage. But this was a gift from the gods. A beggar, a man with nothing. Mama Tiwa would make sure that Ashake was bound to this wretched creature forever. Ashake, unaware of the storm brewing behind those watchful eyes, turned to the man as they reached the compound. "You should rest," she said softly. "Come, you can sit here." She led him to a wooden stool near the entrance, handing him the last of her water. The man hesitated before accepting. He drank slowly, his tired eyes scanning the compound. There was something unreadable in his gaze, something that did not quite match the frailty he presented. Mama Tiwa rose, smoothing her wrapper as she stepped forward. "And who is this?" she asked, her voice thick with forced warmth. Ashake hesitated, glancing at the man. He started, but Mama Tiwa cut him off with a smile that did not reach her eyes. "You are Ashake's friend, eh? I see." Ashake frowned slightly. "He needed help, Mama. I couldn't leave him there." Mama Tiwa clicked her tongue. Of course, my daughter. Such a kind heart." Her words dripped with false sweetness, but Ashake did not notice. She had learned long ago that it was easier not to question. The man, however, noticed. He studied Mama Tiwa for a long moment before lowering his gaze. "What is your name, stranger?" Mama Tiwa asked. The man hesitated again, then said, "Abiola. My name is Abiola, Mama." Mama Tiwa's smile widened. "Well, Abiola, you are welcome here. But a strong man like you should not be wandering the streets. What is your story?" Abiola's hands tightened slightly. A flicker of something crossed his face, something too fleeting to catch. "I lost everything," he said simply. "My family, my home. Now, I'm just looking for work." Mama Tiwa's eyes gleamed. "Work? Ah, you are in luck then. We could use a strong hand here. You see, Ashake does all the work in the house. She does most of the chores. But perhaps now, she will have someone to help." She turned to Ashake. "What do you say, my child? Wouldn't it be good to have someone by your side? Someone to help you with the chores?" Ashake blinked, startled. Mama Tiwa did not wait for an answer. She clapped her hands together. "It is settled then. Abiola, you will stay here. In return, you will work for your keep." Mama Tiwa was already making a plan in her head. She wanted the two to get closer. Ashake smiled, though she felt a strange unease settle in her stomach. Something about this was too easy. Mama Tiwa never gave anything away freely. But Abiola simply nodded. "Thank you, Mama." Mama Tiwa beamed. It was only the beginning. Days passed, then weeks. Abiola worked as promised, carrying heavy water pots, fetching firewood, fixing broken furniture, tending to the goats. He was quiet, observant, his eyes always watching. He spoke little of himself, but Ashake found herself drawn to his presence. They spent a lot of time together. They would sit by the fire for long hours and talk. When Ashake was with him, she smiled more, and even though he was just a poor beggar staying with them, she did not see him as such. She felt comfortable beside him, seeing him as someone she could share her secrets with. It was clear that the two liked each other, but no one had spoken it out loud. Unlike everyone else, Abiola saw her, not as a servant, not as a burden, but as a person. While all this happened, Mama Tiwa sat in the porch looking at the two with a warm smile. She was happy, but this was a different kind of joy. Mama Tiwa was glad. Her plan had worked, and the two were getting closer. She could already see that Abiola was falling for Ashake. One evening, as the two sat by the fire, Ashake finally asked, "Where do you come from? Really, Abiola? I'd like to know your story." Abiola hesitated. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, he said, "Far from here, from a place where betrayal is common and trust is a fool's gift." Ashake frowned. "Did someone betray you?" Abiola's jaw tightened. He did not answer. Before she could press further, a voice interrupted them. "Ashake!" Mama Tiwa's voice rang sharp in the night. Ashake stood quickly. "Yes, Mama!" Mama Tiwa stepped forward, a knowing smile playing on her lips. Come, my child! We have visitors!" Ashake's stomach twisted. Visitors? At this hour? She followed Mama Tiwa into the main hall. Inside Mama Tiwa's small sitting room, a lantern flickered, casting shadows on the walls. Ashake stood frozen, her heart hammering as she stood in the scene before her. An old man, his skin wrinkled like dried leather, sat across from Mama Tiwa, smiling with a mouth half empty of teeth. Gold rings gleamed on his fingers, and his agbada, woven from the finest silk, shimmered under the lantern's glow. Ashake's stomach churned. "Ah, my dear Ashake, my beautiful daughter," Mama Tiwa said, a snake smile stretching across her face. Come, meet Chief Odewale. He's your future husband. He's a very rich man, and he has promised to take good care of you." The words crashed over Ashake like a tidal wave. Her body went cold. "No!" she breathed. The old man chuckled, adjusting his cap. Don't be shy, my dear one. Your mother tells me you are a good, respectful girl. Don't worry, I will take good care of you. Ashake turned to Mama Tiwa, fury shaking her limbs. You can't do this, Mama. Mama Tiwa's smile remained, but her eyes hardened. Oh, but I can. You should be grateful, Ashake. Do you think men will line up forever to marry you? This is your best choice, oh. You should be very thankful that I have searched for the best man for you. Ashake clenched her fist. I will never marry this man, Mama. Never. The old man let out a deep laugh. Ha! You are spirited. But don't worry, that will change with time. I like a little fire in my wives. Ashake felt bile rise in her throat. She turned on her heel and ran out of the room, ignoring Mama Tiwa's calls. Unbeknownst to them, Abola had been standing just outside, listening to every word. His fists tightened. He had thought Mama Tiwa was merely cruel. He had underestimated her wickedness. Selling off Ashake to an old man for wealth? No, he would not allow it. That very night, when the compound had quieted and the moon hung high, Abola made his move. Mama Tiwa sat on her porch, a self-satisfied smirk on her face. The deal was nearly sealed. Soon, Ashake would be gone, and she would enjoy the wealth that came with it. She sat there in joy, humming to herself, when a shadow stepped into the light. It was Abola. Mama Tiwa's smile thinned. What do you want? Abola took a deep breath. I need to talk to you, Mama. Mama Tiwa arched a brow. Talk? About what? He hesitated. Then, with quiet resolve, he said, About Ashake. Mama Tiwa chuckled, shaking her head. Ah, I see. You like Ashake, don't you? Abola remained silent. She leaned forward. Then, let me guess. You want me to call up the wedding, Abi? She clicked her tongue. Ah, poor boy. Do you have money? Do you have land? Do you have anything to offer? Abola's jaw clenched. I will take care of her. I will work. Just don't tell her off to that old man. Mama Tiwa steadied him, and suddenly, a slow smile spread across her face. An idea had struck. Very well, she said smoothly. If you want Ashake, you can have her. Abola's head snapped. What? Mama Tiwa shrugged. Yes, marry her yourself. But remember, she will be your burden, your responsibility. Abola narrowed his eyes, and Mama Tiwa smirked. What? Don't you want to marry her anymore? Abola straightened his shoulders. I want her, Mama, but she must choose me herself. Mama Tiwa waved a hand dismissively. Of course. Speak to her now. Let us see if she is foolish enough to marry a poor beggar like you. She laughed, turning away. Abola's face tightened. He would tell Ashake everything. He would tell her the entire truth. The next evening, Abola found Ashake by the fireside, where they usually sat and had long chats. She looked at him, her eyes still clouded with anger and hate. Abola, she said tiredly, if you are here to tell me to accept my fate, don't waste your breath. I'm here to do the opposite, he said, his voice firm. Ashake, I spoke to Mama Tiwa, he continued. She said I can marry you instead. That is if you choose me. Ashake's eyes widened. What? Abola took a deep breath. But before you decide, Ashake, I need to tell you the truth. Ashake's brows knitted in confusion. What truth? Abola hesitated for only a second before saying, My name is not Abola. My real name is Ikechukwu. Ashake's lips parted in shock. I'm not a beggar, Ashake. I actually come from a powerful family. I disguised myself because I wanted to find a woman who would love me for who I am and not for my wealth. And Ashake, I found you. Ashake's breath hitched. I love you, Ashake, Ikechukwu said softly, and I want to marry you, but only if you feel the same. Silence hung between them. Ashake searched his face, looking for deception, but found none. Her heart pounded. You are telling the truth? Ikechukwu nodded. Ashake's throat tightened. She thought of all the times he had been kind to her, how he had listened, how he fought for her. She thought of how he'd never once treated her as less. Finally, she whispered, "Even if you were truly poor, Ikechukwu, I would have chosen you." Ikechukwu exhaled, relief washing over him. Ashake drew closer, looking him in the eyes. "Yes, Ikechukwu," she said, her voice steady. "I'll marry you." Upon hearing the news, Mama Tiwa wasted no time. Just 3 days later, as the morning sun bathed the village in golden light, the preparation for Ashake's wedding began. Mama Tiwa and her daughters bustled about, their faces glowing with smug satisfaction. "Well, this will be the wedding to remember," Mama Tiwa said, clapping her hands together. "Our Ashake, the wife of a beggar." Nina and Ifoma giggled as they helped arrange the chairs and set up the small cooking area. They worked tirelessly, not out of love, but because they wanted every villager to witness Ashake's humiliation. They thought they were marrying her off to a simple, poor beggar. The guests began to arrive, villagers streaming in to witness the ceremony. Then, something very unusual happened. A sleek black Mercedes rolled onto the compound. That was when the actual show began. The murmuring crowd stilled. A wealthy man stepped out, draped in the finest lace, his gold jewelry glinting under the sun. Nina's brow furrowed. She nudged her mother. "Ah, Mama, who is that?" Mama Tiwa squinted, her confusion growing. "Hey, Nina, I don't know. I think he must be at the wrong place," she muttered. Before they could recover, another luxury car pulled up. "Hey, guy, Ferrari, oh! Eh? Na Ferrari be that? What is a Ferrari doing at a poor man's wedding?" Then, another luxury car pulled up. "Hey, guy, cha! Rolls Royce, na Rolls Royce be that too." Soon, a convoy of high-end vehicles lined the compound, and more distinguished guests emerged. Powerful men, women in expensive attire, their presence commanding attention. Whispers rippled through the crowd. "Who are these people? Why are such wealthy guests here?" Mama Tiwa's confidence wavered. Her throat went dry. This was not what she had planned. "Yeah? Guy, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Private jet be that. That's a private jet, oh, Chinekeme. Who are these people now? Where did they come from?" Then, finally, the groom arrived. The door opened slowly, and Ikechukwu stepped out, not in tattered rags, not as a beggar, but dressed as elegant as a prince. His attire was clean, his stature exuding power and wealth. Fine embroidery lined his agbada, and a royal cap adorned his head. Mama Tiwa's mouth fell open. Her daughters went stiff, their eyes wide in disbelief. Nina stammered, "Jay, Mama, is that Abola?" "No," Ifoma whispered in horror. "That cannot be Abola. He's just a poor guy." But Nina was right. That was indeed Abola. Ashake emerged next, dressed in a breathtaking gown that made her look like royalty. She walked with grace, her beauty shining like the sun. The wedding proceeded in grand style. Laughter, music, and extravagant feasts filled the air. What was supposed to be a simple, humble ceremony turned into the most lavish wedding in the village. Mama Tiwa could barely keep standing. Her daughters clung to each other, their faces drained of color. They were surprised the entire day. When the celebrations neared their end, Ikechukwu stood before the crowd. The entire village fell silent. He turned to Mama Tiwa, a slow smile forming. "I want to thank Mama Tiwa," he said smoothly. his voice carrying authority. "For giving me the opportunity to marry Ashake," Mama Tiwa exhaled shakingly, trying to gather herself. "Yes, of course. You all know I love Ashake very much. I see her like my own daughter, and I always want the best for her," she stammered. Ikechukwu's smile didn't fade. "But I also want the village to know the truth," he continued. A hushed murmur spread through the crowd. Mama Tiwa's fingers trembled. Ikechukwu's voice grew firmer. "This woman, Mama Tiwa, who stands here looking so proud, tried to sell off Ashake like a piece of livestock to an old man she did not love." Gasps erupted. "What is he saying? Why would Mama Tiwa do such a thing?" "When I first arrived in this village, I was disguised as a beggar, and while many turned away, Ashake showed kindness. She loved me not for wealth, but for who I was. Meanwhile, this woman here, Mama Tiwa, her stepmother, the woman who should have protected her, treated her like a servant, forcing her to do all the work while her own daughters did nothing." The sisters shrank back, their faces burning with shame. You see, Mama Tiwa thought she was marrying off Ashake to a poor beggar. That was exactly what she wanted. She never wanted anything good for Ashake, but destiny had other plans. Today, justice has been served, and the whole village now knows the truth. Ikechukwu finished. A heavy silence settled. The villagers shook their heads, sneering at Mama Tiwa. So this was her plan. She wanted to marry off Ashake to an old man for money, and now her daughters will suffer. Who will marry them now? Mama Tiwa felt the walls closing in. For some reason, she did not even try to deny the allegations laid on her. She did not say a word. She just stood there, her head bowed in shame. Nina and Ifoma clutched each other, realizing their fate. No respectable man would ever want to marry them now. They were exposed, they were ruined. And Ashake, the girl they had mistreated, had become the most envied woman in the entire village. As the final wedding music played, Mama Tiwa fell to the floor, her body heavy with disgrace. She begged. Ashake walked past her, holding Ikechukwu's hand. She didn't even look back. The past was behind her. Her new life, one filled with love and freedom, had just begun. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like this. God richly bless you. Catch you in the next video.